Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Dave Bader, who is Vice President of Business Development at Eurotech. Over the course of 3 decades, Dave has been involved in several automation revolutions, including the evangelism of artificial intelligence at the edge, industrial IoT, and autonomous mobile robotics for industrial and warehouse applications. Serving as the head of sales, National Business Development Manager, National Sales Manager, and Global Channel Manager for a variety of automation and robotics companies, Dave brings a unique ability to convey very highly technical solutions to both technical and non-technical audiences. Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Let's start with a philosophical question. How did you get here?
Well, it's interesting. You know, the idea of factory automation is something that I guess I've grown up with for most of my life. My father was a maintenance engineer and manager while I was growing up. And, I never aspired necessarily to follow in his footsteps, but I guess fate had me doing that. So I actually started working as an industrial automation electrician while I went to school for electrical engineering at night. Many years later, I ended up in the electrical and automation sales game and have been really working on helping customers solve complex problems, with high technology ever since.
How did you end up at Eurotech?
That's also an interesting story. So as I mentioned, I've been involved in automation for quite some time and robotics. Most recently, I was the worldwide go-to-market strategy guy for robotics and factory automation for AWS, Amazon Web Services. And it was a really great opportunity for me to help customers that are migrating to AWS cloud from the factory floor. And one of the opportunities that I had with AWS was to partner with Eurotech. We had this really interesting application. It was really very interesting for me to learn how Eurotech approaches the edge quite differently than many other edge companies. So when the opportunity came up for me to look at joining Eurotech, I was excited to expand the Eurotech's presence into North America.
So talk to me a little bit more about what it is that you do there.
So I'm fortunate that I have the opportunity to lead business development for Eurotech in North America. So as part of the overall leadership team, I've been able to, kind of help create and execute the overall strategy for North America. So while I've only been here a few months, we've got some really, really exciting things coming up in many areas, right? With some new product development and in some partnerships with both the CSIA and several other particular customers as well. But what's really interesting is like how we package hardware and software specifically at the edge to be able to help customers kind of increase their posture, both from a technical perspective, being able to connect to different types of machines, but also to increase their security posture as well. So adding the capability of IEC ISA 62443-4-2 at the edge is a really, really big deal for customers. And, we're real excited about being able to bring that to North American customers as well.
As we're recording this, the U.S. holidays are approaching. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of social situations and people are going to ask you, Dave, what is it that you do? How do you answer that question?
Well, that's actually pretty funny, Lisa. My whole career, that's been a tough question to answer, right? So I remember, with my kids, they used to always ask me what I did. And, we had all different kinds of things that we said over the years, but it's a lot easier now than it was, like, say, as a cloud guy, right? Trying to explain to people the cloud and how that relates to industrial automation and robotics was kind of a difficult thing. But now it's easier and more straightforward to be able to just say to people that Eurotech, manufactures like highly secure computers and software to help people develop autonomous vehicles and trucks and tractors, and being able to test all of that with high technology. It's a lot easier to talk to people about that after they've had a few drinks.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Eurotech. What's the origin story and where is it going? How's it evolved?
So Eurotech's been around for about 30 years. Headquarters is in Amaro, Italy, and we've built really complex industrial solutions for customers for many years. We've been significantly involved in the basis of industrial IoT and IoT in general. It's not widely known, but Eurotech was one of the key implementers or the key developers of the IoT protocol MQTT, right? So in conjunction with IBM back in the 90s, Eurotech helped to build that capability. Since then, we've kind of really worked our way through developing more standard IoT products and more standard industrial gateways and compute capabilities. In addition, we've also, kind of developed our Everywhere software framework and our Everywhere cloud solution for remote device management. So being able to take what would normally be a standard kind of computer at the edge and provide a software framework, an abstracted software framework that allows customers to be able to interface with these hardware devices, intelligently. So being able to connect to existing machinery, being able to pull data directly from the devices, and then to be able to kind of seamlessly and effortlessly connect to the cloud and to provide data directly up into the cloud, whether it's AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. And we support all of the cloud services. Those capabilities are really, really fully developed. And, our standard products out of the box are able to do that effortlessly. And I think a lot of people tend to lean on agnosticity as a way to go to market. But in reality, we are super focused on, kind of the end result, right? So if what we do isn't truly agnostic, it's not valuable to customers, especially to systems integrators. So you have to be able to take a kind of a hardware software approach with Eurotech and say, I can kind of build this into any kind of solution that I want. So device drivers are super valuable to customers and systems integrators. Being able to connect in a brownfield application to almost any type of network, whether it's a CAN bus or some industrial flavor of Ethernet that we've all been exposed to, whether it's Ethernet IP or Modbus TCP or others, and then certainly with OPC UA and MQTT. All of those capabilities are built into our ESF framework. And then being able to kind of manage the data in a no-code environment, being able to take information from a PLC via Modbus TCP and convert that to data in MQTT and then push that to the cloud, that really truly becomes a kind of a clean, kind of agnostic approach.
What are you doing with system integrators?
Yep. So it's interesting when you're a company of 30 years. There's a lot of different ways that you've gone to market over the years, and one of the things that I hope that I have some influence over here now in the U.S. is and in North America is my experience with systems integrators, and having been in this space for 40 years actually, my experience with CSIA and other systems integrators has been incredibly beneficial. We have always kind of known that systems integrators were a significant part of our go-to-market, but we're doubling down on that space right now. So honestly, that is our go-to-market strategy for 2024 and beyond is to really work with systems integrators to be able to kind of enable them to quickly connect to existing machinery or to develop new equipment with different technology quick and easily at the edge. Our products in many cases can be used by users and directly by customers, but the systems integrator experience is significantly better because there's so many features and capabilities that are built in. So being able to provide a robust experience, a systems integrator can do that on a repetitive basis. Our go-to-market for sure with systems integrators is paramount to our mutual success.
What are the benefits for system integrators?
The ease of deployment is probably the strictest one. Being able to be able to deploy an edge device quickly, repetitively, and without a whole lot of risk. Once you've kind of understood the architecture and how our products go together, whether our product is a gateway or whether it is an edge AI compute device, our ESF platform and our EC platform combined, that deployment goes very easily. Now, one thing that we don't want to forget about for a systems integrator is the ability to bring the security up, right? So we're all very focused on security in the IT space, right? So it's pretty important. We understand our IT customers have to be, on their best guard when it comes to security. But what's happening over time, and for those of us like me that's been in the operational technology, the OT space for our whole careers, we're starting to see this vulnerability become a wider gap, right? So what Eurotech does is we provide that, kind of software platform that allows customers, systems integrators, to provide their customers with that OT security, kind of structure. I would say that, Eurotech, without question, is the first company to be able to provide that high level at the OT space. We're certainly not going to be the last, but we are definitely a leader in that IEC ISA 62443 category, which is really, really important as systems integrators build solutions for their customers. It's not just a functional solution now, it becomes a security solution as well.
I think that'll help them reduce their time to market or increase their profits.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean about the time to deployment, right? So being able to shrink the time to market is, critical, obviously, to everybody's success. And from a systems integrator perspective, if you can build structure and, kind of mechanisms around your deployment and standardize, even in non-standard kind of applications. So being able to build that, that interface to the cloud or build that security posture, it's repetitive, job in and job out. You don't have to redevelop the wheel every time. That absolutely works its way right to the bottom line. Our ability to be flexible and to be able to connect to, like, our ESF platform has, roughly 30 plus connectors or device drivers to existing hardware, both in the energy space as well as in the industrial space. So being able to connect to almost any kind of existing data stream is super important. And really, we find that customers find Eurotech based on some of our driver capabilities, but they end up really appreciating the benefit because of the security and the time to market.
What suppliers do you partner with?
It's important for us to kind of maintain as much agnosticity as we can, right? But for instance, we work with a lot of different AI companies who use our products to host their inference at the edge, right? So being able to run your AI development model, whether it's at the edge or in the cloud, and then to be able to quickly adapt to that and run it in one of our AI compute devices, our edge AI compute device, is really important. So, we kind of stay as open as we can, and we work with a lot of different suppliers that are willing to run their inference models on our computers. But from our ESF framework, we have all of these different types of connectors that I referred to, or device drivers, that are super important. And, gives us the capability of connecting to almost any brownfield application. The interesting thing is we do, and I mentioned that I came directly from AWS to Eurotech. We do have a deep integration with AWS. While we do support Azure and other cloud services, we do have a deep integration with AWS, and specifically around AWS Greengrass. So we're probably the only company that has such a deep integration, where we actually have developed a new product called our Everywhere Green Edge product, which is the ability to have a zero-touch provisioned gateway that allows customers to be able to, out of the box, or integrators out of the box, to be able to scan a barcode and do all of the AWS configuration autonomously. So now you don't no longer have to be an AWS Edge specialist to be able to push data to AWS Cloud. One of the really big problems with AWS, and they're specifically around Greengrass, is the time to deploy. So we've essentially abstracted all of that heavy lifting on the AWS side and provided the customer the ability to be able to just work on the downstream piece. So being able to connect the devices, create the application, work in the low-code, no-code environment on the edge, and then push the data to the cloud. I think that that's going to be an amazing change for integrators who are trying to get in to help customers migrate to the cloud.
Are you planning on joining your colleagues for the 2024 CSIA conference, April 15th through the 19th? I hope so, because this year's event has some new features I think you're really going to enjoy. For starters, CSIA is inviting the next generation of leaders to attend this conference that explores not just the present state of the industry, but the future as well. In fact, there is a whole track devoted to emerging leaders, plus dedicated networking time. Don't worry, you'll still find plenty for the current leaders, like the second annual Business as an Investment workshop, as well as the classic Best Practices workshop. On a personal note, though, I'm most excited about the brand new workshop called A Strategy for Success: How to Build the Ultimate SI Marketing Playbook. It's a topic I'm personally super passionate about, but also, to be honest, I helped plan it. And we designed my dream workshop. Ultra practical, extremely hands-on, highly entertaining. Finally, the keynote speaker lineup is pretty special this year. From a literal rock star to a business makeover expert to an EOS implementer. Where else are you going to get that? You can explore it all at www.controlsys.org/conference2024. And remember, the sooner you sign up, the more you save. So smash that register button. See you in Dallas. What else are you expecting for Eurotech in the next year or so?
As the industry changes and more focus becomes on machine learning and artificial intelligence, customers recognize that the ability to run and to modify their inference models at the edge is paramount to their success. So being able to take a very complex machine learning or artificial intelligence model, train that model at the edge with a very high compute device, and then to modify and run the inference at the edge is really changing the game. And having the compute capacity to be able to run that at the edge for many different types of workloads is really the thing that's going to continue to set Eurotech apart from other hardware manufacturers. Because our ability to combine our ESF and EC layers of software with our hardware and to be able to provide real-time data to customers, as well as the increased security, is really, it's going to continue to become a differentiator for us.
Your go-to-market strategy, are you going to be putting more emphasis on partnerships and system integrators?
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit about that, right? So yes, absolutely, partnerships and integration, working with the systems integrators are number one focus for this year. So you'll start to see a lot more activity from Eurotech, me specifically in North America around CSIA. So I've been involved, way back in the beginning, at the very beginning. I'm a Philly guy from my start, and CSIA obviously was one of the first groups was out of the Philly area. So been very much involved kind of in the periphery over the last several years, but we'll certainly get more involved with the organization and with the members of the organization as well as time goes. But several other organizations as well, including A3 and several others that we've been highlighting some of our capabilities with. And then partnerships, that's a kind of a broad question, like what kind of partners should a company like Eurotech start to look at? And really where we see ourselves as an infrastructure supplier, being able to work with companies that build AI and that build solutions, and being able to use our hardware and software combination to enhance their overall solutions. So it may look like AI partners, it may look like systems integrator partners that are building AI or incorporating AI, or simply just machine connectivity, being able to connect machines that otherwise could not be connected. Those kinds of partnerships are the kinds of things that we're looking for. And quite frankly, I think that the industry is looking for from us as well.
What do you think your customers return to you project after project?
We've got a good track record of that. I think it goes to the ease of use. We're constantly pushing the envelope from a tech perspective too. So we don't sit back on our successes and say, oh, this is great. Let's sit back and kind of reap the benefits of this. We have really been pushing the envelope from a technology perspective. So once again, since the beginning of time with IoT, since our co-development with IBM for MQTT, all the way to today, where we're building compute devices that are capable of handling many multiple GPU capability at the edge. So the most robust workload being able to run at the edge, is super important. And as we continue to progress with our hardware development, we continue to progress with our software capability as well. One of our out-of-the-box gateways is our Dynacore 4411. The ability to incorporate a GPU into something that's relatively low cost provides customers with a really tight form factor and the ability to run really high-end workloads at the edge. But certainly even higher-end workloads that require 2 or 3 or 4 GPUs can also be incorporated with the Eurotech solution. So yeah, we keep pushing the envelope technology-wise.
Can you give me an example of a project where it was super challenging and you were able to solve that problem for a customer?
Sure, there's a lot of those. I'll talk in general terms without giving any specific names, but there's an application where customer has been building hardware products for many years, right? Let's just say they've built 5,000 machines over the course of the last 15 years, and their product in the field is becoming obsolete. It included a 3G modem as well as some limited compute capability. So the customer recognizes that in order for them to upgrade their customers to a more modern solution with their existing equipment, they want to go back and retrofit those existing machines to incorporate newer technology and allow them to be able to gain machine insights, and then also to provide almost a SaaS environment for a customer with a machine that may be 10 or 15 years old. So they've come to Eurotech, and we've actually taken and kind of looked at modifying an existing form factor of one of our existing products and incorporating it directly into their existing machines. So we've worked with an integration partner, and the other part of this solution is to be able to push the data to the cloud. So to be able to provide analytics, real-time analytics for the customer. So we've worked with systems integrators to be able to, kind of do an end-to-end solution where we would provide the hardware with our everywhere software framework, and then the integrator would make the connection to the cloud and then do the connection to the existing machine. So that customer is huge quantities, but it's the ability to be able to provide a 2024 solution for machinery that's 10 to 15 years old, and the customer couldn't be happier.
What advice would you give to a prospective customer, maybe researching you versus your competitors?
I don't think that's a hard one, right? So there's a lot of companies that build hardware, both gateways and even industrial compute devices. In fact, when I was at AWS actually builds an industrial compute device, and I was responsible for part of that business as well at AWS. The difference is that Eurotech combines our, very detailed, very proven hardware solution with our software framework. So being able to provide, it sounds like a broken record at this point, but being able to provide this increased security posture on the OT side is super important. We can't possibly continue at the rate that we're continuing to grow technology on the OT side without thinking about security. And there's a number of cases where the vulnerabilities exist on the plant floor that could carry through to the IT side as well. So no longer can we just rely on the IT teams to be able to manage our security at the edge in the factory. So when customers start to evaluate and start to look at solutions, They look at performance, obviously, of the hardware, but that overall structure of being able to provide that security layer, that connectivity to existing machinery. And then I really talk a lot about our EC, or our Everywhere Cloud framework, but our ability to provide, very, very complex device management via our EC software. So using this to be able to provide over-the-air updates to mobile machinery or fixed machinery, being able to manage the deployment of new firmware to devices, being able to update the firmware on a modem, for instance, those kinds of things have been virtually unavailable to customers in the OT space at this point. But with our ESF and EC solution, we're able to provide, full connectivity to the entire connected load. So even down to the sensor level, being able to change the firmware or update the firmware at the sensor level, or even in the PLC. So those things are unprecedented. So when customers are looking for a solution, being able to work with ESF and EC and Eurotech really kind of gives them an all-encompassing view.
We all know the stranglehold the talent shortage has on business, which means this is no time to trifle when it comes to staying competitive in the thunderdome that is the labor market. That's where the CSIA Talent Retention Toolbox comes in. TRT provides salary information for a comprehensive list by 34 SI industry job titles. It also provides insight into additional benefits like retirement programs, medical benefits, PTO, bonuses, and more to provide you with a holistic compensation picture. You'll also get high-level HR analytics like industry turnover rates and recruiting sources. Here's how it works. The survey will open January 16th. You will have until February 28th to enter your data. The final report will be available soon after, mid-March, but only to CSIA members who input their data. And while TRT provides valuable insight into how your talent cost structure compares to others, CSIA's Pulse program carries this benefit even further by providing a quarterly look at how efficiently you are deploying your team. Benchmark your operations against your peers to focus your efforts on the areas that will deliver the most value. To learn more, visit www.controlsys.org/TRT and www.controlsys.org/CSIA-PULSE. But don't trifle. When you're out in the field talking to customers, what are you hearing from them in terms of the challenges they're facing?
It's funny, in my introduction, you introduced me as I've evangelized many different kind of businesses. And it's funny, when you've been doing this as long as I have, that question keeps coming up over and over again. Like, what are those challenges? And the challenges remain similar, right? It's just a different level and maybe at a different rate of speed, right? The challenges are changing much, much faster now. So I think customers are really struggling to understand security. I'll start there. Our traditional customers and even our traditional systems integrators are not poised to talk about traditional IT security at the edge. So I think what we're trying to do at Eurotech is to provide the capabilities, to provide the infrastructure for customers to increase their security posture, but to provide them education as well, to give them the understanding of how the overall security architecture should look at the edge. And I think that that's a challenge that every customer that we have, we talk about, right? And some are more educated than others. And you'd be surprised at how those who are unaware, it doesn't necessarily go with large company, small company. So there's quite a lot of education left to be had in the industry. So that's one challenge. And then the speed of technology, that continues across all of these generations of products and services and capabilities that I've been involved in, right? So all the way back to the beginning of variable frequency drives or robotics, everybody has this limited amount of time in which they have to, learn everything they possibly can to deploy some of this new technology. So if companies that are providing end-to-end solutions, integrators combined with Eurotech and other suppliers, if they can be as educated as possible to help that customer along, that's really the ultimate goal of a high-tech supplier, is to be able to help that customer, kind of bridge that gap between, speed to market, speed of technology, and being able to help them, with their bottom line. What's that ROI? What's the investment versus the return that they're going to see?
What kinds of challenges are you seeing in the industry right now?
So, one of the things that we talk a lot about and everywhere is the ability to hire people still. So as times have changed, the types of employees have changed as well. And the ability to hire people at a rate that is needed is becoming, almost crippling. Even for us as a company like Eurotech, we're constantly trying to improve and grow our employee base. But I know our customers struggle with that every day. When I was primarily focused on robotics, that was a big part of our conversations with customers every single day, was how do we, augment the inability to hire people to move material or to do things. So, as customers start to realize that, the employee problem is going to continue, they're going to need to automate more and more. So that problem is not going away anytime soon. And all the indicators say that the need for automation is going to continue for many, many years to come. So, being able to kind of bridge that gap for customers to be able to educate their existing employees and level those existing employees up to do more non-trivial jobs and automate those, undifferentiated heavy lifting jobs makes it a lot easier for customers.
On the converse, then, what makes you optimistic about the future of the automation industry?
I don't think it's a converse, right? I think that is exactly why I'm super excited about the automation space, right? There's a demand. There's a huge demand for automation in every area, whether it's logistics and warehousing or whether it's, manufacturing and those kinds of things. So we know that there's a limitation to the number of people that are available. And by increasing the capabilities of automation and making it more streamlined and working with integrators and customers directly to do an end-to-end solution, I think is exactly what we've all been in play to do for as long as I've been in this industry. And now I think what's happening is no longer is it a luxury to automate. It's customers, must automate. We just need to make it easy for them.
So switching topics completely, why do you think Eurotech became a member of CSIA?
I'd like to take complete responsibility for that. But honestly, that decision was made before I got here. One of the great things that I learned when I got here was that the company was leaning in that direction. But our whole goal is to kind of become more involved in the local area and to work with companies in that space. So it's really important that not only do we just go out and try to market to systems integrators, but that we actually understand and become part of their day-to-day business. So you'll see us at meetings and you'll see us at things like this, getting involved and becoming more part of the overall ecosystem. So happy to really be a part of CSIA.
So if I could wave a magic wand and give you the opportunity to do a completely different career, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I've got a few hobbies, right? So probably the most passionate these days that I'm about is woodworking. I have built a small woodworking shop in my backyard, and the idea of becoming a professional woodworker is not something that I've ever really aspired to, but it is a way for me to have a creative outlet outside of work, right? So, I have multi-axis lasers in my shop where I can do some things, that are a little bit more automation related. I would say that if at some point I retire, which I actually have no interest in doing at this point, I would see myself with a couple of CNC machines in my wood shop working in an automated way. I'll definitely have robots out there at some point.
Yeah, maybe you could make a robot out of walnut or something.
Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
What's the best advice you could give yourself just getting started?
Well, I'm one of these guys that I've gone through a whole lot of different paths, right? But I'm super happy at the way that things worked out for me. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the smartest and even some of the nicest people in the world. I've had the opportunity to sit in design meetings at NASA and to be able to work with the most advanced underwater robotics technologists in the world. And I'm happy to say that I've had the opportunity, and we'll all see the results of this, to work with a company that's putting a robot on the moon in the first quarter of 2024. So I can't be any happier with the way that my career has evolved. I think if there was one particular thing, maybe becoming a little bit more entrepreneurial in the beginning of my career might have been a little different, right? So taking a few more risks rather than kind of taking the big company route. But really, I have no regrets at all. I think that the advice that I would have is just to keep seeing it through and keep persevering. That's what's been successful for me.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you're interested in learning more about Dave or Eurotech, you can find them on the Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Dave, for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also really help the show by leaving a review and sharing with colleagues. We're all just slaves to the logarithm now, so I gotta ask. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.